What is going on, everybody? My name is Tyler. Hope you're doing well on this Thursday, April 22nd. And if you know what that means, we are 1 week away from the 2021 NFL Draft starting the first round. So I'm going to try to keep this video as short as possibly can. But in this video, I will be doing a mock draft of the first round for all 32 teams, giving my picks. I'll probably expand more on the top 10 picks, let's be real, and then fill in where need be for the other picks. Give my thoughts, give my predictions. I am not including trades. No trades in this one. It's just what the current draft order is at the time of this recording. So hopefully from the time I record to the time I post it, the video doesn't change. Because I am actually recording this on Wednesday the 21st. Because you got to, edit and all that, bada bing, bada boom type thing. So hopefully between Wednesday and Thursday, when I upload this, there's no changes to the draft order. But without further ado, let's get it started. We'll start with the number one pick, and this is easy. It's going to be Trevor Lawrence, quarterback out of Clemson. The guy, he lost, 2 games in his entire college career? He's just unstoppable. He missed 2 games in 2020 because of COVID and still had a remarkable season. Over 3,100 yards, 24 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and with a completion percentage of 69.2. He will be the future in Jacksonville. What I'm more so concerned about or interested about is what they do with their second pick, which I'll talk about later. But they got a nice core down in Jacksonville, you would think. They got DJ Shark. They brought in Marvin Jones. They have Laviska Shenault. They have James Robinson, who is a remarkable running back in his rookie year. And then they bring in Trevor Lawrence. They're probably not going to win a lot in this new 17-game format. Maybe they'll get 6-7 wins. But they will definitely be setting up themselves up. And I think a lot of guys, if Trevor Lawrence plays well, they'll want to come down and play with him. He's that good. Moving on to number 2 in the New York Jets, it's going to be Zack Wilson. I feel like I don't think they take a quarterback because they traded Sam Darnold. If they traded Sam Darnold and went with Penei Sewell, or they went with Kyle Pitts or whoever it was, which I think is also too high for those players, that just means that the Jets have no clue what they're doing. I think Joe Douglas is really smart. Zack Wilson had a phenomenal season, 3,600 yards, 33 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 73.5 completion percentage. The big concern is the whole schedule thing because he played at BYU. But Zack Wilson is an absolute freak of a talent. He's kind of like a Josh Allen in the sense that he doesn't have the same big arm, but he can do so many different things. Like, there's just kind of like an unknown given the level of competition he faced, but also at the same time, there's so much potential, I feel like. And if the Jets can surround Zack Wilson, another team who has 2 first-round picks in this draft, they could surround him with some nice pieces, that kid can really thrive. Now, number 3 to the San Francisco 49ers. Obviously, they trade up. I think it's going to be a quarterback, whether it be Justin Fields, Mack Jones, or Trey Lance, and they'll either sit behind Jimmy Garoppolo for a year, or they'll do like the whole Alex Smith to Patrick Mahomes thing, like they did in Kansas City, or that player will start and Jimmy Garoppolo will be the coordinate, will be like the mentor. That's the word. And I think the best fit, I know everyone's saying, oh, Mack Jones, he's most like Kirk Cousins, which works really well in Kyle Shanahan's system, or Trey Lance because he has the most potential. I'm going with Justin Fields. Justin Fields, from talent standpoint, is the second best quarterback, in my opinion, in this class. 2,100 yards, 22 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, a 70.2 completion percentage in 8 games in 2020. And there was a lot of talk of like, oh, he didn't play great against great defenses. Well, you're allowed to have a down game. Look at Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. He had a horrible game. Granted, he was running for his life. But Justin Fields, from a talent standpoint, he is that good. He is the 1B to Trevor Lawrence's 1A. They kept flipping back and forth. If you remember back in high school, Justin Fields was the lead 11 MVP over Trevor Lawrence. He's just that good. He is a dual threat guy. He can make a lot of plays, and I think he can fit really well in that 49ers offense, who they have George Kittles. They have Deebo Samuel. They don't – who's their running – oh, Raheem Mostert, or who's the other guy? It's no longer Kevin Coleman. Raheem Mostert, or Jerick McKinnon. I believe they're both still there. So Justin Fields, I feel like, is the best pick. Number 4 to Atlanta. So this is where the draft starts, in my opinion, because we all know that the first 3 picks are most likely going to be quarterbacks, barring a trade. Atlanta can go 2 ways. They can go offensive weapon, or they can set themselves up for the future. And I feel like they try to set themselves up for the future. They're not going to trade Matt Ryan. not this year because he is owed way too much money. But I feel like they bring in a guy who they feel like can really carry the torch and get whatever they can out of Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones with ever left. And that's Mack Jones out of Alabama. Remarkable season, led the nation in passing with 4,500 yards, 41 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, a 77.4 completion percentage, and led the team to a national championship. You can make the argument for Kyle Pitts here in the theory of, okay, they're going to try to get as much out as they can out of Matt Ryan and just throw as much at him in terms of weapons and see what he can do. But we've seen that for the last 2 years. The last 2 seasons, we said, oh, look at the Falcons. They got this great offensive line. They have Matt Ryan. They have Julio Jones. They have Calvin Ridley. They had a decent running back, whether it be Devonta Freeman or Todd Gurley. They're going to do great. They haven't. And now with a new coach in Arthur Smith, I think maybe he tries to set a tone of a new direction and tries to start a rebuild in his image. At 5, this is short and sweet, is Penei Sewell, the offensive lineman out of Oregon. He's the best offensive lineman in the draft. He could play at tackle or at guard. And I've seen a couple graphics on Instagram and social media of the like. With the Bengals can go with 2 ways. They can go with Joe Burrow throwing to anyone, whoever it is on the roster, and have Penei Sewell there and Joe Burrow standing up. He's not going to hit as much because remember, Joe Burrow got his head knocked off a couple times last season. Or the other option, you can have Joe Burrow laying on his back, not completing passes, to a wide open Jamar Chase down the field because his old line sucks. I feel like the Bengals have a good enough offense in terms of wide receivers and pass catchers with T. Higgins from last year. They also had Tyler Boyd. That if you throw in Penei Sewell, that it'll be Joe Burrow can do enough. And maybe they take a wide receiver in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th rounds, whoever it may be. And that could be your pass catcher from this draft. And they also have Joe Mixon, too, still. So you need to create holes for him. And Penei Sewell can definitely do that. He's the best offensive lineman. 6'6", 330 pounds. Pretty darn good. At 6, Miami Dolphins, they traded back from pick 3 with the 49ers, and then they moved up to take Philly's spot at pick 6. And this is another one that's kind of like you can go multiple ways. I don't think they go quarterback because I don't think they trade back just to get a quarterback. I think they trust Tua Tagovailoa, and they go with Kyle Pitts. They give him the best player available, the best pass catcher available in Kyle Pitts, the tight end out of Florida, 6'6", 246 pounds. In 8 games last season, he had 43 catches for 770 yards and 12 TDs. You pair him with Mike Gesicki. They already have, yes, Will Fuller's going to be suspended for the first couple games, but then you throw him back in. They have Devontae Parker. They got some nice weapons around Kyle Pitts, or around Tua Tagovailoa. And this could really be kind of like what the Giants are doing with Daniel Jones. Be like, yeah, we're giving you all these weapons. Now to prove it that you can do it. In that Brian Flores system, I think Kyle Pitts is a Florida kid too. You could go with one of the wide receivers in this case, but I feel like Pitts would be a better fit. He's just the best pass catcher in this draft, without question. At 7, Detroit, they made the big trade to swap basically Matthew Stafford for Jared Goff and a couple first-round picks. I believe that's what it was. Yeah. The Lions got first-round picks and Jared Goff. And they give a pass catcher to Jared Goff. Try to help him succeed. Because they definitely are not. They have the franchise running back in DeAndre Swift. They're going with the best wide receiver in Jamar Chase out of LSU. He's missed 2020 because he opted out. But in 2019, record-breaking season. 84 catches, 1,780 yards, and 20 touchdowns in that offense with Joe Burrow. He's one of the taller ones. Yeah. He's 6 foot even, 208. He's not the tallest receiver of the guys in the draft, I don't believe, but this guy's electric. He was better than Justin Jefferson when they were both at LSU, and Justin Jefferson nearly won Offensive Rookie of the Year, and probably should have, in my opinion. I thought he was that much better than Justin Herbert. But Jamar Chase, I feel like, especially since the Lions, they lost Kenny Galladay, they lost Marvin Jones. They need to give their quarterback, Jared Goff, some options. They could go Trey Lance to take for the future, but at the same time, it's kind of like you have Jared Goff. Why not try and see what happens here? And you know what? When you have, with the way this draft is falling, you have the best wide receiver on the board in front of you. Why not take him? And if things don't go well, then you take a quarterback next year. You take a top quarterback next year. Because why would you want or the fifth best guy or the fourth best guy when you can get the number 1 or 2 guy next year. At 8, the Carolina Panthers, they traded for Sam Darnold, and they kept the 8th pick, which is outstanding for them. And I think they give him another weapon. You could go offensive line in here with Rashawn Slater. You could go defense, which they did all last draft. But I think they give Sam Darnold a weapon. They go with Jaylen Waddle, the wide receiver out of Alabama. So then you have a 3-headed monster in DJ Moore. Because they lost Curtis Samuel too, mind you, the Panthers did. So then you got DJ Moore, Jaylen Waddle, and Robbie Anderson. You throw in Christian McCaffrey in the backfield. You've got some versatility with Waddle. 2020, in the 4 games before getting hurt, he had 25 catches, 557 yards, 4 TDs. In 2019, he had 32 catches, 553 yards, 6 TDs. But that's also on an offense with Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs, 2 guys who were first-round picks in 2020. There's versatility, too, because he's the return game. He can do a lot in the return game. And that's how he actually got hurt in the season. He hurt his ankle. Before Devonta Smith really tore it up, Jaylen Waddle was said to be the best wide receiver on this Alabama team. He could have won the Heisman if there was anyone from that Alabama core. And then, obviously, Jaylen Waddle got hurt. Devonta Smith went off. But Waddle, I think, is significantly better. And there is a little bit of redundancy with Robbie Anderson and Jaylen Waddle because both guys are kind of burners. They can go deep and stretch the field. But I think it works out really well with more Waddle and Anderson. You throw in Sam Darnold, and then you have McCaffrey. Do you think that would be a scary team in the NFC South for years to come if it all stays together? At 9, the Denver Broncos. I don't know where they're leaning with Drew Lock, but I do have them going with Trey Lance, the quarterback out of North Dakota State. They gave him all the offensive weapons last season. They had Courtney Sutton, who got hurt. They drafted Jerry Jeudy. They had Noah Fant. Who else did they bring in? I feel like they had more, but I don't remember. Oh, they brought in Melvin Gordon. They had Phillip Lindsay, although Phillip Lindsay's gone. I don't know where they stand with Drew Lock. Maybe they give Drew Lock one more chance, but I feel like this is the opportunity. John Elway's gone. They get a quarterback who has a lot of potential in Lance. They could go defense here. They could go with Micah Parsons or Patrick Surtain. But I'm going to go with Trey Lance. I feel like the Broncos, they're the big team that could be trading up a little bit, especially if 3 or 4 quarterbacks go in the first 4 picks. They can move up a little bit, or they'll be a team that's trying to leapfrog them. So maybe the Broncos, if no one leapfrogs them, they take the quarterback. So that means 5 first-round quarterbacks in the top 10. I don't think this ever happened. I don't know when that's happened. I should look it up, but it's insane to me that could happen. All 5 of these guys are really good. And I actually had it originally, too. I had Trey Lance going 4 to Atlanta and Mack Jones going 9 to Denver. That's how crazy this draft could be. And then obviously once you throw in the trades, who knows what could happen. At 10 to Dallas, I got Patrick Surtain, the cornerback out of Alabama. He's the best defensive back in this draft. Dallas desperately needs one. 33 tackles, 22 solo tackles, 1 interception, 12 passes defended in 2020. He's a lockdown guy. His dad obviously played in the NFL, so he's got that going for him as well. That, I think, stacks him up ahead of guys like Caleb Farley and J.C. Horn, just the experience factor and knowing what it takes to be an NFL player. And with the NFCs, you got Washington with Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel at wide receiver. You got the Giants with Darius Slayton, Kenny Galladay, and Sterling Shepard. And Evan Ingram, who's like a pseudo wide receiver. And then you got the Eagles, who I do have them. They're going to need wide receiver help. So I feel like they're going to take one in this draft. And so they need Dallas can't just get by on mediocre quarter play. Get the best guy available. I think Jerry Jones, he would like this kid a lot, and I think it would fit well. Moving on to New York, you could go wide receiver here in the Giants and taking Devonta Smith, but I've been going offensive lineman Rashawn Slater because the offensive line sucks in New York. As a Giants fan, I can say confidently it sucks. You have Andrew Thomas, a first-round pick from a year ago. They took Will Hernandez, who's been a nice guy. Nate Solder hasn't worked out. Kevin Zeitler was a cap casualty. So I think Rashawn Slater, you could throw him in. Definitely a tackle, maybe a guard as well. 6'4", 315 pounds. I think you put him opposite of Andrew Thomas and just say, cut your ties to Nate Solder. Be like, yeah, this didn't work. Sorry, not sorry. And move on. And you give Daniel Jones a pocket so he can get the ball to Evan Ingram, get the ball to Kenny Galladay, get the ball to Sterling Shepard. Give Saquon Barkley some running lanes. all of that, and you really see what Daniel Jones is made out of. Because I think you could throw another wide receiver in here, but at the same time, it's kind of like, why it's no good to have all these receivers if you can't get the ball. Kind of like what the Bengals are going to do with Penei, Sewell, Joe Burrow. Moving on to 12, you got the Eagles. Traded back from 6 to 12 in a great deal, I feel like. And this is a no-brainer. They desperately need wide receiver help. And why not give Jaylen Hurts, Devonta Smith, the reigning Heisman Trophy winner? He just he got weighed in a couple days ago, I think, or even maybe, I think it was on Tuesday. He came in at 6 foot, even 166 pounds, which is definitely concerning. But the guy's got speed for days, 117 catches, 1,856 yards, 23 touchdowns in his Heisman winning campaign. He benefited, obviously, because he was the only guy with Waddle out on his team. But great talent. He would fit nicely with that Eagle system. I think he would go well with Jaylen Hurts. I believe they do have a little bit of chemistry from their days at Alabama. So that definitely helps. And it's just, the Eagles have been looking for a pass catcher for so long that I don't see why they don't. If they don't take Devonta Smith here, I'd be questioning a lot of things. At 13, you got the Chargers. They could go offense, but I think they're going to go defense here. Chris Harris is getting up there in age a little bit, and they're in a division with some really good receivers. You got Tyreek Hill, obviously, in the whole Chiefs offense. You got Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy in Denver. You got whatever the Raiders are doing with Henry Ruggs, and they got rid of Nelson Aguilar. But I'm going to have him taking the second best corner, in my opinion, J.C. Horn out of South Carolina. 7 games in 2020. He had 16 tackles, 10 solo tackles, 2 interceptions, 6 passes defended. But in a more complete season in 2019, he had 40 tackles, 29 of which were solo. No interceptions, but 9 passes defended. I think J.C. Horn could be a lockdown guy. I think he could really fit well into that Chargers defense because they got a really good pass rush. They need a little bit better of a secondary. I had him thinking about Micah Parsons, the linebacker out of Penn State, but I feel like they took a guy similar to that last year with Kenneth Murray. So I think a cornerback here makes a lot of sense. And now we actually got a little bit of a defensive run. 13 through 18. So 1, 2, 3, 6 straight picks. I have it going all defense. 14 is Minnesota Vikings. I have him going Caleb Farley, the Virginia Tech cornerback. He opted out of 2020, if I'm not mistaken. In 2019, he had 20 total tackles, 4 interceptions, and 12 passes defended for the Hokies in Virginia Tech. Caleb Farley is a very talented player, in my opinion. There is a little bit. I think he's a little more physical compared to Surtain and J.C. Horn. But once again, for the Vikings, they play in a division. Yeah, okay. The Lions have nothing, but they could have Jamar Chase. So you need a cornerback there. The Packers, they have Devonta Adams. I project them to take another wide receiver in this draft, in addition to add to Adams. And then you got the Bears, who do have Allen Robinson. You need a guy who could maybe not. I didn't like the Jeff Gladney pick last year. I think now the Vikings, they get a better guy, an upgrade at that point in Caleb Farley. 15 to the Patriots. So this is a team that, like, if things stay the same, I love this pick for them. But I don't think they're going to stay at 15. I think they're going to move up at some point. How high, who knows? But I do have them taking Micah Parsons, the linebacker out of Penn State, opted out of 2020, because of COVID. But in 2019, 109 total tackles, 52 solo, 5 sacks, 4 forced fumbles. The guy is everywhere on the field. He could be the next big guy in the middle for New England, replacing Dante Hightower in that aging linebacker core. I kind of liken him to Junior Seau. Rest in peace, Junior Seau. Excuse me, I'm a little stuffed up in the nose today. I liken him to Junior Seau in the sense that he's all over the field. He's a hard-hitting guy, plays with a lot of energy, and once again, a guy who played for New England. Junior Seau did. Micah Parsons can be that good, I feel like. 16, you got Arizona Cardinals taking the first D lineman of the draft. And no, it's not Kwity Paye. It's not Jalen Phillips. It's Christian Barmore, the defensive tackle out of Alabama. He was a run stuffer in the middle, 6'5", 310 pounds, 37 tackles in 2020, 8 sacks, 3 forced fumbles. I think you pair him with J.J. Watt and Chandler Jones. You got them on the outside. You can put Barmore in the middle, really plug up that D-line. They could go with an edge rusher guy in this case because Watt and Jones are getting older, but I feel like just plug with the middle. They also could have gone offense. I think they wouldn't have gone any weapons per se. They wouldn't have gone quarterback. They probably wouldn't have gone wide receiver. They wouldn't have gone running back, in my opinion. They could have gone offensive line. God, I am sorry. They could have gone offensive line, but I feel like the defense is more pressing need. And then you got the Raiders at 17. And I think the Cleveland Farrell pick a couple years ago did not work out. It hasn't worked out. So I have him going with his replacement, Penei, the defensive end out of Michigan. Only 4 games in 2020, 16 total tackles, 12 solo, 2 sacks. But in 2019, in 12 games, he had 50 total tackles, 6.5 sacks. He's 6'4", 272 pounds. Can really rush the edge nicely. And that's what the Raiders have been looking for. They haven't had that. And given the fact that they're in a division with Patrick Mahomes and possibly soon be Trey Lance, or who Drew Lock is, Justin Herbert as well, they need to get pressure on those guys. And Penei can do that. 18, Miami, the Dolphins, their second first-round pick. They could go running back here. It could be Najee Harris to pair him back up with Tua Tagovailoa. But I feel like they're going to roll with Myles Gaskin again. I don't think they'd go offense twice, although they did last year, so who knows. I have them going Jaylen Phillips, the defensive end out of Miami. Just someone to put pressure on their opponents in the AFC East. They got Josh Allen in that division. Phillips in 2020, 45 total tackles, 21 solo, 8 sacks. He's 6'5", 266 pounds. That might be wrong. I think that's right. 266 is right. There's an overall freak of nature on the edge, and I think pairing him in that Miami system with Brian Flores and the defense they like to play down there, that's huge, and it would really help out in the AFC East. Washington football team, they are going to be looking for the quarterback of the future. Who is it? I don't know. Might be Ryan Fitzpatrick, but I don't think they take a quarterback with the 19th pick. I think they get a guy who will defend for the future quarterback, and that is Elijah Vera Tucker, the offensive guard out of USC. 6'4", 315 pounds, just an absolute hog. There's been injury issues with Brandon Sheriff and some of those guys on the offensive line for years now in Washington. I think maybe Vera Tucker is someone who could be filled in as a starter, definitely, but also can be moved around a little bit with some versatility. And then later in the draft, they take their franchise quarterback, or the guy who they presume to be, whether it be a Kyle Trask, a Sam Ellinger, a Kellen Mond, Davis Mills even. Who else is there? Felipe Franks, I guess. Probably not Felipe Franks, but that's just me. But Vera Tucker he'll help out Antonio Gibson as well in the running game, which is huge. Chicago Bears, number 20, Gregory Rousseau, the defensive end out of Miami. You pair him alongside Akeem Hicks and Khalil Mack. Sorry, I blanked on the name. I think that really helps out that Bears defensive line. He's 6'7", 253 pounds. He's a big guy. He did not play in 2020, but in 2019, 15.5 sacks. Really got to the quarterback nicely. And I feel like that is going to be huge for this Bears defense to trying to build that up. They could go wide receiver here to pair someone alongside Allen Robinson. But I just don't know who that would be. And I think the Bears are another team, too, who will take their future quarterback later in the draft. So watch out for that. Indianapolis at number 21. This is a no-brainer for me. This pick, like when I was writing things down and preparing for this, I'm like, this makes total sense. Because they lost Anthony Costanzo to retirement. They've had a really solid offensive line. They want a better one. They just traded for Carson Wentz. I think they go with the best offensive lineman left on the board in Christian Darrisaw, the offensive tackle out of Virginia Tech. So 2 Virginia Tech players in the first 21 picks. 6'5", 314 pounds. It's a brick wall. You can put him in Carson Wentz's blind side. He'll create holes for Jonathan Taylor. And I think that really helps the Colts stay afloat in a wide-open AFC South, especially with Tennessee. Maybe they've lost a couple guys, including their offensive coordinator. Jacksonville, they still got a lot of room. Houston is scuffling. Who knows what's going on with the Deshaun Watson situation. But Indianapolis could really help their cause with taking an offensive lineman. Speaking of Tennessee, the Titans, I have them getting the linebacker out of Notre Dame, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. In 2020 was phenomenal. 61 total tackles, 41 solo, 1.5 sacks, 3 forced fumble, and an interception. That was obviously in a COVID crazy year. 2019, 79 tackles, 52 solo, 8.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. This guy is a really versatile player. He can rush the passer. He can drop in coverage a little bit too. And I think the Titans could use that, especially since they're going to have to guard Trevor Lawrence. They're going to have to guard against Deshaun Watson if he's still there. I think you could throw Wosu Karamoa on any tight end, and you get some solid coverage as well. So the versatility, I feel like that's what the Titans need. 23 in the Jets, their second first-round pick, and the Jets are getting lucky here. They get Najee Harris, the running back out of Alabama. Obviously, I did mention he could go to Miami at pick 18, but if he falls to the Jets, holy cow, they got their franchise quarterback and their franchise running back, two things they've been looking for. 6'2", 230 pounds, 251 carries in 2020, 1,466 yards, 26 touchdowns, 5.8 yards per carry, and then he also had 43 catches for 425 yards and 4 touchdowns. The guy is phenomenal out of the backfield. I feel like the Jets could really use him well, and I'm saying that now knowing that's the Jets, but Robert Saleh comes from that Kyle Shanahan offense, and I feel like you throw in Najee Harris, he could fit into that scheme. I don't know if that's the scheme the Jets are going to run, but you pair him with Zack Wilson, you get the two cornerstones of your offense in the future, and I feel like the Jets will be on the up and up. Pittsburgh at 24. We're going to go a little bit quicker to close things out. Pittsburgh at 24, and they've been looking for a running back. They got rid of James Conner. I think they take the next best guy in Travis Etienne out of Clemson. You give Big Ben one more weapon to see what they can do. 5'10", 205 pounds. He had 106 carries in 2020, only for 914 yards and 14 touchdowns. But he's another guy who can get out of the backfield, not as well as Najee Harris, but he still can get out. I've watched Travis Etienne for years now, being that I go to Syracuse, and this guy can tear it up. I feel like he'd be a great fit for that Pittsburgh scheme. They do need some offensive line help because they lost Marquise Pouncey, and I believe that's it. Maybe they lost someone else. I don't remember. But Travis Etienne, the running back of the future for the Steelers, you pair him with all the wide receivers there. That is not as scary as you would think, but it's still interesting to see and very excited. 25, Jacksonville, their second pick in the first round. I have them going on the defensive end, Trayvon Martin, the safety out of TCU, the best safety in this draft. I think you need someone. You got all the pieces on offense, or a lot of them at least. Go to the defensive end and try to build up that. Get a leader in the back end. In 10 games in 2020, he had 47 tackles, 2 interceptions, 9 passes defended. In 12 games in 2019, 62 tackles, 4 interceptions, 11 passes defended. So he's very consistent. He's a very rangy guy. Can cover deep, can cover short. Can get up, make a tackle, and really help out this Jacksonville Jaguars defense and what Urban Meyer wants to build down there. 26, Cleveland. I mean, Cleveland's got some heads turning. They got their running backs in Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. They got Baker Mayfield. OBJ's coming back to pair with Jarvis Landry. They have Austin Hooper and David Njoku at tight end. They have that really solid offensive line. I think they go defense here. They just brought in Jadeveon Clowney. I think they put him more at D-end, and then they bring in Zaven Collins, the linebacker out of Tulsa. Because also, who knows what the long term is of Clowney. Bringing Collins. In 8 games in 2020, he had 54 tackles, 36 were solo, 4 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 4 interceptions, and 2 touchdowns. 12 games in 2019, 97 total tackles. The guy is, once again, similar to Owosu Koromoa, very rangy, can get up and down the field and really just make plays at all ends. Can get from sideline to sideline, go east, west, north, south, and make a play. And in that division, in the AFC North, with the Bengals, with the Steelers, with the Ravens, they desperately need it. The Browns do. A linebacker that's rangy. Speaking of the Ravens, about to sneeze. Okay, I think we're good. We've been saying it all along. They need a wide receiver. They didn't get any guys in free agency of note. I think they go with the best guy available in Kadarius Toney, the wide receiver out of Florida. 70 catches, 984 yards, 10 touchdowns in 2020. Probably not the long-term number one, but you pair him alongside Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews. You got something there. You give Lamar Jackson just more options. That's what he needs. Then maybe, who knows, down the road they get another better wide receiver, whether it be in free agency or the draft or a trade. New Orleans. This is interesting given what the quarterback situation is. Who knows what they're going to do? I think they take a quarterback Maybe they could take one with this 28th pick. I doubt it. I think they'll take one in the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th rounds future, and look for Kellen Mond to be that guy, or Kyle Trask, I guess. But I'm going wide receiver to pair alongside Michael Thomas, because we saw at times last season it's just what you need a second guy. And whether it be Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill, they need a second guy. So I've been going Rondale Moore, the wide receiver out of Purdue. A little small, 5'9", 180 pounds. 3 games in 2020, only 35 catches for 220 yards before he opted out. 2019, he got hurt. 4 games, 29 catches, 387 yards, 2 touchdowns. But in his big season in 2018, 114 catches, over 1,200 yards, and 12 TDs. This guy has explosiveness. He ran lights out at his 40 in his pro day. I feel like he'd be a great addition to this New Orleans offense, especially what Sean Payton likes to do. Excuse me. 29, Green Bay. Once again, another team we've been saying for a long time now, they need a wide receiver to pair alongside Devonta Adams, and they finally get it. Rashad Bateman, the wide receiver out of Minnesota, in 5 games in 2020 was not great. 36 catches, 472 yards, 2 TDs, but in 2019, in 13 games, he had 60 catches, 1,219 yards, and 11 touchdowns. Rashad Bateman, could be definite number 2, or maybe even a number 3 behind Marcus Valdes-Scantling and Devonta Adams. They also got Robert Tonyan, so it just gives Rodgers more options. And there's now rumors I've been hearing that Jordan Love could get traded. I don't know where, but if they do that, that is very interesting. The Green Bay Packers are a team to circle and watch in this draft. 30, Buffalo Bills. Azeez Ojulari, the linebacker out of Georgia. Another rangy guy, 31 tackles, 8.5 of which were sacks, 4 forced fumbles, 2 passes defended, so he can drop in coverage and rush the passer. He's been climbing up draft boards. And I think for the Bills, I mean, it's too early, I think, to go running back, especially since the top 2 are gone. And I know that's been an issue. And I think the defense, that's like the one thing they're missing, is to make that a little bit better. You put him in the spot where A.J. Klein is, make A.J. Klein more of reserve. I think Azeez Ojulari could really fit in nicely in that AFC East and even the AFC as a whole. 31, Kansas City, the reigning AFC champions. Tevin Jenkins, the offensive tackle. Patrick Mahomes is running for his life in the Super Bowl. They released both Mitchell Schwartz and Eric Fisher. So Tevin Jenkins, the offensive tackle, 6'6", 320 pounds. The guy's huge. And he could protect Patrick Mahomes. They need it. Obviously, they don't need any more weapons. They need to keep Mahomes upright. And finally, the defending Super Bowl champions, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they bring in all their starters back, and I think they start looking for the future. And I think they take the best quarterback available, and in my opinion, that's Kyle Trask out of Florida. He's a Florida guy. You have him learn under Brady, similar to what Garoppolo tried to be in New England, and you just build up. You build up the future. You get ready. I think Brady would be more willing to teach, although he says he wants to play until he's 45, 46. But bringing Kyle Trask in, someone who can learn from Brady, especially, who knows, injuries could happen. You never know. But let me know your thoughts down below. I know this is a longer video, 33 minutes, but we're approaching 34. But let me know your thoughts. I maybe will do another video like this, another mock draft, maybe like on Wednesday before the draft. We'll see. But let me know your thoughts. Who do you want your team to take down below in the comments? Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, enjoy the draft if I don't speak to you beforehand.